This is the voice of the Lord, your God, my beloved child. Listen carefully if you trust in God. Type Amen. Heaven has never been louder than it is right now. The air around you is not just ordinary, it's holy. It's humming with an unseen electricity, a divine urgency, a spiritual tension that is not meant to frighten you but to awaken you. You, who has cried behind closed doors. You, who has waited for clarity. You, who has questioned if God still sees you, hears you, remembers you. The answer is yes, shouted through the silence, whispered through the wind, encoded in this very moment where you are scrolling, doubting, hoping. You didn't stumble here. You were brought. And the message is clear. Archangel Michael stands at the edge of your atmosphere. Sword not raised in warfare, but extended like a bridge, a holy offering of guidance before it's too late to turn back. He's been trying to reach you for longer than you know. Through the stillness of your room, the flicker of dreams, the heaviness in your chest that had no explanation. And beside him, Jesus, radiant, unwavering, arms wide like he was on that cross, but this time not for sacrifice, but for embrace. You are not just another soul. You are the chosen one. The one marked in heaven before you ever felt forgotten on earth. The one who carries a destiny so weighted with light that hell tried to distract you through exhaustion, confusion, and delay. But not anymore. Heaven is interfering. And the Father himself is saying, do not skip this. Do not walk away again. This is not just a message, this is your moment. This is not about fear. This is about remembrance. Of who you are. Of who sent you. Of what is trying to return to you. Because you have lost things. We know. People who never apologized. Opportunities that closed when your heart was finally open. Seasons that ended before they bore fruit. But what if we told you, nothing is truly lost in God? Not the time. Not the tears. Not the love. It's all stored. And heaven is unlocking the storehouse right now, but the key is your yes. Jesus is standing beside Michael, not in judgment, but in joy. He says, you are not late. You are not forgotten. You are not disqualified. The enemy tried to convince you that you missed your moment. But your moment has just arrived, and it looks like this. This screen. This sentence. This sacred interruption. This is not an algorithm. This is appointment. The angels have been circling your name. The trumpet has already sounded. And all of heaven is waiting to see what you do with these next few seconds. Not because God needs your obedience to be God, but because your future needs your obedience to be free. Breathe. Pause. Feel this. Because the moment you open your spirit fully, the moment you say, yes God, I'm here, a shift begins. A door opens that no man can shut. The loneliness starts breaking off. The delay starts melting away. And that version of you that you saw in your dreams? He starts waking up. Jesus says, I've never left your side. But today, I want your heart to believe it again. Michael says, you're not losing us, we are trying to restore you. God says, chosen one, this is not just another post. This is your open heaven. There are rooms in heaven where time doesn't exist. Rooms where moments on earth are measured not in seconds but in surrender. One of those rooms has your name written across its entrance, not in ink, but in light. That light was dim for a long time, flickering because your spirit was tired, your heart unsure, your mind heavy. But a few days ago, or maybe a few hours ago, perhaps even this very moment, that light pulsed again, like heaven was saying, look, they're ready. Call the court to order. And so they did. You didn't hear it with your ears, but your soul did. You felt the shift. That sudden awareness that something has changed, even if your surroundings still look the same. That restlessness inside you lately? That wasn't anxiety. That was heaven preparing the courtroom. The spiritual realm moving into motion. Angels lining the perimeter. Witnesses gathering. And in the center, a throne more brilliant than any earthly crown could comprehend. Then the doors opened, and Archangel Michael entered. Not as a warrior this time, but as a representative. Not holding a sword, but holding your name. Behind him, Jesus followed. Not as judge, but as advocate. He wore your story like a robe, the pain you felt, the moments you stayed silent, the times you forgave without being asked. He held all of it in his hands. Not to condemn you, but to say, this soul is mine. They still believe. They still worship. Even when it hurt. Even when no one saw. Even when they didn't understand the silence. I vouch for them. And heaven listened. There was a scroll brought forward, one that listed every delay, every blockage, every hidden spiritual chain that has wrapped itself around your blessings. Some of them inherited. Some of them spoken. Some of them self-inflicted through pain you couldn't even name. But instead of punishment, there was intervention. Archangel Michael raised his hand and said, "This must end. The chains must break. This soul has been carrying burdens not theirs. They have stayed quiet too long. It is time for justice. It is time for restoration. It is time." A silence followed. Thick. Holy. Unmovable. Then God Himself stood. And in a voice that does not echo because it does not need to, He said, "Let it be done. The time of wilderness has expired. The wealth that was withheld, the peace that was postponed, the love that was delayed, release it now. My child has waited with a faithful heart. I will not let them wait in vain. And just like that, it was written. The courtroom doors flung open again, and angels were dispatched like lightning. Some were sent to unlock resources, some to silence lies, some to carry scrolls to earth with instructions for those around you, people who will now start to feel drawn to bless you, to help you, to favor you. You won't need to beg anymore. You won't need to chase. Because God's decree has gone ahead of you. And that decree does not return void. You may not see it instantly, but heaven has already started to move the chessboard. Conversations are being stirred in rooms you've never entered. People are remembering your name out of nowhere. Opportunities that dried up are starting to drip again. It's not coincidence. It's not karma. It's not luck. It's divine alignment. And this moment, this very moment as your eyes read these words, is the evidence. You were not supposed to skip this. You were supposed to open, to pause, to receive. Because heaven has ruled. Because Archangel Michael stood. Because Jesus spoke. Because God said yes. After the courtroom closes, the realm of spirit doesn't sleep, it sends. It assigns. It activates. The scroll with your name, once held in silence, has now been sealed in glory and passed into motion. And from the moment heaven whispered, "Release," the atmosphere around you began to rearrange. Quietly. Supernaturally. Invisibly to the eyes of the world, but powerfully visible to your soul. You've been sensing it, haven't you? That unexplainable pull to let go of certain thoughts, the unexpected restlessness with places that used to feel familiar, the sudden awareness that something holy is coming closer, like a wind you can't see but deeply feel. That is the confirmation that the release has begun. You are no longer in delay, you are in divine delivery. Archangel Michael has not returned to stillness, he's walking beside you now. Every hour, guarding you from distractions sent to reroute your promise. Every night, standing at the edge of your sleep to fight off the shadows trying to discourage you before the door opens. His sword is active, but not against you. It is protecting the path God just cleared for your arrival. The next few days will not feel like before. There will be interruptions, not to frustrate you, but to redirect you. There will be strange peace in places where you used to be anxious, and unfamiliar discomfort in places where you used to feel safe. That is the atmosphere responding to heaven's voice. And your spirit must obey it. Don't question the nudges. Don't explain the shifts. You asked for change, now change is coming through divine movement, not through human logic. Jesus is still speaking over you, not in sermons, but in signs. That person who randomly reached out to you today, that song that played just when you were about to give up, that gentle phrase you heard in your mind when you were crying last night, it wasn't random. It wasn't a thought. It wasn't just memory. It was Jesus calling you back into awareness. It was heaven reminding you, we haven't forgotten the prophecy we wrote over your life. Because this is not about starting over, this is about starting right. You've done the cycles. You've learned through loss. You've held your breath through the heartbreaks. Now it's time to exhale. Because the door isn't coming, it's already here. And this time, it's not built with pressure. It's built with peace. People around you will not understand what's happening, not because they're against you, but because they weren't present in the courtroom. They didn't hear what God heard. They didn't see Archangel Michael stand. They didn't see Jesus carry your scroll. So when things begin to accelerate, when blessings start to multiply, when doors start opening that no man could have forced, don't waste your time explaining it. Just walk in it. Walk softly. Walk humbly. But walk boldly. Because heaven has already approved what the earth is just now beginning to release. This is why you had to wait. This is why certain things didn't work before. You weren't being punished, you were being protected from entering rooms that could not hold your purpose. But now, the alignment has shifted. Now, the earth is finally catching up to what heaven already said yes to. And even though it might still look the same outside, spiritually, the contract has changed. You are no longer chasing. You are chosen. You are no longer begging. You are being backed. You are no longer in silence. You are in spiritual surround sound, where every angel, every divine connection, every heavenly gate is opening at once, just for you. And now, this is your responsibility. Stay alert. Stay soft. Stay surrendered. Because the next few signs will not shout, they will whisper. That person you randomly meet who feels like you've known them forever, that idea that keeps waking you up at 3 a.m., that gut feeling that says, say yes, even when your mind is unsure, these are heaven's instructions wrapped in earthly moments. And when you follow them without delay, without doubt, without trying to make it all make sense, you will enter rooms your bloodline never reached. You will touch favor that your ancestors prayed for but never saw. You will carry blessings that heal not only you but generations after you. And when that happens, you'll understand why Archangel Michael was so urgent. Why Jesus said don't skip. Why God Himself whispered to your soul just in time. There comes a moment, quiet but undeniable, where what heaven released begins to make contact with the physical world, not in lightning, not in thunder, but in the gentle collision of divine timing and your surrendered heart. You feel it first not in your hands, but in your chest. A warmth you can't explain. A stillness that feels louder than sound. a breath that carries no fear. That, beloved, is the signal that your blessing is near. Not just talked about, not just prophesied, but present. Near enough to touch, close enough to receive. And the space around you begins to echo the arrival. You look around, and everything feels unfamiliar, yet strangely right. The people who once overlooked you now start asking questions with softened eyes. The atmosphere shifts from resistance to recognition. Something has changed. But they don't understand why. You do. You remember the courtroom. You remember the moment your name was called in heaven. You remember the scroll, the sword, the silence that turned into permission. That divine approval is now manifesting as favor, not loud, but undeniable. You walk into places and feel seen without having to speak. You feel people's spirit leaning toward you without asking for attention. That's not you being magnetic, that's the glory of God following you like a shadow. That's Archangel Michael going before you, clearing resistance. That's Jesus whispering your name in the hearts of strangers who are now assigned to bless you without knowing why. Your blessing doesn't come with warning, it comes with wonder. And when it appears, in the form of a message, a door, a meeting, a person, a moment, your spirit will tremble not in fear, but in recognition. You'll know, this is it. This is what I was being prepared for. This is what was being delayed for me, not from me. This is the reason heaven kept whispering. This is the reason I couldn't give up. And when you say yes to it, not with noise, but with your spirit, the door will not just open, it will stay open. Because heaven doesn't tease. It delivers. And what is meant for you cannot be withheld by anyone once heaven says, now. Even your own mind will try to catch up. Your thoughts may whisper, am I really ready? Your fears may shout, what if I fail again? But the blessing doesn't come because you're perfect. It comes because you're positioned. Positioned by surrender. Positioned by silence. Positioned by every midnight where you didn't quit. That is the posture heaven waited for. And now that you're in it, doors must obey. Peace must follow. Favor must pour. Because when God says the delay is over, every locked gate becomes a hallway. And every no becomes a setup for the final, undeniable yes. And now you understand why Archangel Michael begged you not to skip this. Why Jesus himself extended both hands in that courtroom moment. Because what they saw coming was too holy, too beautiful, too aligned with your calling to be missed in distraction. And now that it's here, now that the wind has shifted and the blessing is breathing in your direction, your only job is to receive without shrinking. To say yes without guilt. To walk forward without over-explaining. Because this time, you are not stepping in alone. Heaven is walking beside you. behind you, ahead of you. Every step covered. The world may still see you as they used to, but the heavens see you differently now. You are not chasing anymore. You are being handed what already belonged to you. And your soul? It remembers. That's why tears may come. That's why silence may follow. Because your spirit finally recognizes that this isn't just a new season, it's a fulfilled promise. And that is sacred. At first, it feels unfamiliar, not the blessing, but the version of yourself it requires. The door opens. The favor begins. The opportunities knock in the quiet. And suddenly, you're standing in a space that looks too holy to enter, too divine to belong to someone who still remembers all the things they've survived. But heaven leans in again, gently, firmly, lovingly. This is yours. This has always been yours. You were just waiting on the inside to believe it. And that's when the real transformation begins, not outside of you, but deep within your soul. Because for so long, you were taught to shrink, to play small, to make others comfortable while your own spirit suffocated. You were praised for your silence, rewarded for your sacrifice, encouraged to be the healer, the forgiver, the strong one, even when no one asked if you were tired. And now, when heaven says it's your time, when the spotlight of favor turns toward your life, your first reaction is not celebration, but hesitation. Not because you don't want it, but because somewhere along the way you stopped believing it was allowed. But Jesus stands before you, with the same fire in his eyes that calmed storms, and says, "You don't have to earn what I already died to give you. You don't have to prove what my Father already declared. You are not an intruder in your own promise, you are the heir." And that changes everything. Because now, when you look in the mirror, you start seeing glimpses of who you truly are, not the version shaped by pain, or rejection, or abandonment, but the version built in glory. You don't just see your face, you see your call. You don't just see your eyes, you see your history. All the silent battles. All the invisible obedience. All the places you chose to love when you could have hated. All of it, woven into your reflection now. You are no longer someone trying to survive life. You are someone finally stepping into it. The people around you begin to notice, not the blessing, but the change in your energy. There's a weight to your presence now. A peace to your walk. A stillness in your speech that only comes from someone who has been visited by heaven. Some will be drawn to it. Others will be confused by it. But you will not be shaken by either, because you know now, your worth was never based on their understanding. Your calling was never attached to their confirmation. Your blessing was never held in their hands. Archangel Michael walks closer now, not because you're in danger, but because you're in elevation. And when heaven elevates someone, Warfare is not always external, sometimes it's internal. The enemy will try to remind you of the version you've outgrown. But this time, you won't listen. Because you've seen the scroll. You've heard the decree. You've stood in the courtroom where your name was spoken by God Himself. And you've been reintroduced to yourself in heaven's mirror, that healed you, that crowned you, the you that can no longer be hidden. So walk like it's yours now. Speak like you belong in the room. Believe like it's already unfolding. Because it is. The blessing wasn't the door. The blessing was the belief. And now that your belief has aligned with your identity, nothing can stop what heaven has begun. Not fear. Not past. Not doubt. Not delay. You are the chosen one, and now, finally, you believe it. There is a moment in every divine journey where the prophecy no longer stays trapped in the unseen. It begins to move, like rivers carving through land no one thought could be touched. This is that moment for you. What God whispered is no longer floating in the realm of promise, it's stepping onto the stage of your life. And you are no longer just waiting. You are walking in it now. Slowly, maybe. Cautiously, maybe. But undeniably. You can feel it in how people speak to you now, like they sense something has shifted. You can feel it in your space, where things once felt tight, now they feel too small. That's not your imagination. That's called alignment. And heaven? Heaven is smiling. Because finally, you are not just praying for the miracle. You are becoming the person who is ready to hold it. Archangel Michael no longer has to knock, he walks through your door like someone who belongs. He guards your rest without being invited. He clears energy you don't even see. He whispers instructions not in loud voices, but through instincts. Don't go there today. Check your inbox again. Speak slower. Pause here. And when you listen, you notice how much more easily the pieces are fitting. Because obedience is no longer an effort, it's a rhythm. And heaven works through rhythm. Through flow. Through quiet trust that doesn't need constant proof to believe the promise still stands. Now, the blessings begin to show their face. That opportunity that disappeared, it reappears through a new contact. That conversation you thought was dead, it comes back resurrected. That relationship that used to confuse you, now it makes sense, not because they changed, but because you grew. And people who couldn't see your worth back then are now forced to see the light you carry. But the difference is, now you no longer need their validation. You are walking with the approval of the one who created the stars, and when you carry that kind of presence, human approval becomes irrelevant. Jesus stays close, closer than ever. Not only guiding you, but healing parts of you you forgot were still bleeding. You'll find yourself randomly in tears in rooms where no one hurt you. That's called internal breakthrough. You'll start forgiving people you haven't spoken to in years, not to reconnect, but to release. That's called soul maturity. You'll begin to speak softer, walk slower, smile more, and worry less, not because your life is perfect, but because your spirit is finally at peace. That's called heaven on earth. That's called fulfillment. That's called divine grounding. And now, the doors that once felt locked, they open without knocking. The blessings that once felt delayed, they arrive early. The answers you used to beg for, they now flow into your days as whispers. You start attracting what you used to chase. Not because of effort, because of divine timing. Because the version of you that once wasn't ready, now is. The version of you that used to doubt, now believes. The version of you that used to cry for breakthrough, now lives inside it. And when people ask, "What happened to you?" you'll smile. You'll remember every whisper, every scroll, every time Jesus said, "Wait." Every time Archangel Michael said, "Hold on." And you'll say, "I stopped skipping the message. I finally opened it. And heaven never left me the same." There comes a holy turning point, silent but unforgettable, where the miracle you've received begins to move through you, not to end with you, but to start something beyond you. You feel it in the shift of your spirit, the peace that lingers even when things are uncertain, the joy that sings even when nothing looks perfect, the wisdom that begins to drip from your mouth not because you studied it, but because you survived it. What heaven poured into you during your waiting, during your wilderness, during your silence, now it becomes your oil. And now, the anointing is no longer just for you. It flows from you. You're no longer asking, "When will it happen for me?" Now you're asking, "How can I serve with what I've been given?" And that shift, that sacred shift, unlocks doors that go far beyond favor, they unlock impact. Because you are no longer walking for applause. You are walking for alignment. You are no longer obsessed with visibility. You are moved by responsibility. And heaven trusts people who are moved not by crowds but by calling. That is why Archangel Michael stayed. That is why Jesus didn't let you quit. Because they saw this version of you coming. This healed version. This awake version. This version that knows they are the blessing, not just waiting on one. Now your voice begins to carry more than words, it carries restoration. People hear you and feel safer, even if you say nothing at all. People meet you and sense calm, even if they don't understand why. It's not your tone. It's not your smile. It's not your story. It's the Spirit of God living in you so freely now, that you've become a vessel for those who've forgotten their worth. You are no longer just carrying heaven's promise, you are becoming heaven's presence in rooms that were starving for it. And Jesus? He continues walking beside you, but now, more like a friend than a teacher. He laughs with you. He whispers reminders. He walks with you in gardens, in supermarkets, in quiet moments where you forget you're divine, until he taps your heart again. Remember who you are. You carry glory now. And you don't need stages to release it. You don't need applause to believe it. You've become rooted. Not by ambition, but by identity. And this is the difference, this is what turns blessings into legacy. Archangel Michael still covers you, but now he celebrates. Because the war for your belief is over. And the enemy, who once tried to take your voice, now trembles when you speak. Not because you shout, but because you don't shake anymore. You don't shrink anymore. You don't apologize for being chosen. And every time you speak truth in love, every time you give even when no one thanks you, every time you bless without condition, heaven counts it as obedience. And God counts it as worship. Now your life begins to multiply in ways numbers can't explain. A stranger you encouraged ends up changing their life. A simple message you sent becomes someone's answer. A moment where you forgave becomes the very thing that breaks a generational chain. And you realize, you were never just meant to receive a miracle. You were always meant to become one. This is what heaven waited for. This is what that courtroom moment prepared you for. Not just the release, not just the